Welcome to the first episode of Weekly Readings. Today we'll read about Ajatshatu. Prasenajit, the king of Kosala, called a meeting of his council of ministers. Bimbisar, the king of Magad, is dead. He was executed on the orders of his own son, Ajatshatu. We will sever our relations with Magad. We will also claim back Kashi, which was gifted to Bimbisar. Bimbisar was a pious man. He was a valued friend of Kosala. The one who killed our friend is considered an enemy of Kosala. As had been expected, Ajatshatu retaliated by marching against Kosala and inflicted heavy casualties on that kingdom. Prasenajit's men fled the battlefield and sought refuge in the capital. Maharaj, our men are utterly demoralized. They say Ajatshatu looks like one possessed. No one can stop him. He must be stopped forever. The aged king himself led his men and engaged Ajatshatu in a fierce battle. You will not find me an easy prey like your unarmed father in prison. Ajatshatu winced. He let out a wild cry and charged. With his brilliant tactics, Prasenajit soon isolated Ajatshatu. He seems happy to be surrounded. As his injured elephant succumbed to its wounds, Ajatshatu jumped down. Here you are, trapped like your father was, but unlike him, you are armed for defense. Whereas your poor father was slaughtered like a helpless animal. Ajatshatu let out a piercing cry and attacked Prasenajit with unbounded fury. The next moment, as Prasenajit was about to bring his sword down, he saw a strange expression in Ajatshatu's eyes. The next moment, Prasenajit threw away his sword. Go ahead and kill me. No! Come on, kill me. I want to die. Why? Maharaj, the day I issued the order to execute my father, a son was born to me. It was then that I understood a father's love for his son. I no longer wanted to have my father killed, but alas, my orders had already been carried out. I have known no peace since then. No power can bring him back to life. Would you care to listen to the advice of an old man, a friend of your dead father? Ajatshatu waited. If you want to lessen your burden of guilt, then seek peace, not war. Seek life, not death. Ajatshatu walked away. Back in his capital, Rajgriha, Ajatshatu continued to be agonized by remorse. Neither amusements nor the company of men of religion brought him solace. Oh, when will I be relieved of this heartache? He began to spend more time in the gymnasium and on the campaigns, but the victories brought him no happiness. What have I done? What do I seek? He could not sit idle because of his mental agony. He dreaded peaceful moments. Have you finalized the plans for our next campaign? Vassakar, his able minister, told him, Maharaj, constant warfare has put a heavy burden on the exchequer. Haven't we received our dues from the Lichavis? No, Maharaj. When we allowed them the right to mine for jewels on the border of our territory, it was agreed that they would give us half the share of gems, but they have not delivered our share. I am happy that the Lichavis have given me a reason to declare war on them. So, what are we waiting for? Maharaj, I do not advise war against the Lichavis. Not immediately. They are powerful, they are united. Their territory is too far from Rajgriha. Let us build a well fortified base on the banks of the Ganga, from where we can launch attacks on them. Work began on the construction of a fortified city on the banks of the Ganga. It took 2 years for the city to be ready. Patliputra, this will be our new capital. Now I am ready for the Lachavis. The Lachavis too were equally prepared. Their leader Chetak was an able administrator. Let the assembly decide whether we must surrender to Ajatashatru or fight him. Unlike other states, the Lichavis did not believe in the rule of one man. From time to time, people decided as to who should administer the state and elected suitable men to rule them. Ajatashatru not only possesses a threat to our state but also to our way of life and our system of government. I suggest that we fight him. We approve. Ajatashatru must be humbled. The Lichavis fought fiercely and put Ajatashatru's men on the run. Back in Patliputra, I have found my match in the Lichavis, but they have not seen the last of me yet. I look forward to battling with them. Maharaj, repeated indecisive battles are playing havoc with the morale of our soldiers. But mental torment drove Ajatashatru to be more and more violent and revengeful. They can't get away with this. In that case, we must make a determined effort to subdue the Lichavis once and for all. Exactly, but how do we manage that? Maharaj, I have a plan. I need your permission to launch an onslaught on the Lichavis. Ajatashatru frowned. How can you? The morale of our men is very low at present. The attack needs only one man, Maharaj. Myself. I suggest that while you enthuse our soldiers to fight once again, I will infiltrate the enemy ranks and weaken them from within by planting seeds of dissension. I like your plan. Let's hope they play into your hands. But if you are found out, you will lose your life. But that is a risk I have to take to ensure our success. Vasakar left for Patliputra the same day. Ajatashatru sent for his engineer. I would like you to design a war machine. When Ajatashatru explained his plan, it will be a formidable weapon if it works. It will work. Meanwhile, the Chavi nobles were celebrating their victory over Ajatashatru. I hear Ajatashatru has new plans to overpower us with his war machines. But machines are no substitutes for fighting men, especially those men who are united and take collective decisions. Everyone turned to the man who had just spoken. You are right. We rule according to the will of the people, and therein lies your strength. Yes, but who are you, stranger? We do not seem to know you. Oh, I am a disillusioned citizen of Magad. I am ashamed of my king and the way he wants to impose his rule over your way of government. I served as a minister to Ajatashatru, but now I am ashamed that I did so. Seize him and throw him in prison. As the nobles closed in on Vasakar, please do. At least I should pay for the sins of my king. Wait, he repents, so he is welcome here. He is our guest, and this is no way to treat a guest. But he is a dangerous man. He is not to be trusted. I don't agree. Would he have revealed his true identity if he were not honest? Could he not have used a disguise? Could he not have lied? I apologize for my friends. Come, sir, please be my guest. As the two left, I have won a friend, but my friend has won many enemies. Gradually, Vassakar started working subtly on the nobles who often voiced dissent on the management of the state. Isn't it strange that most of your proposals are voted down in the assembly? Yes, it is rather odd. Is it because you do not belong to the affluent group while most of the other nobles do? Maybe. Vassakar managed to plant the seed of doubt in the mind of his host. And within a few years, Vassakar succeeded in bringing about a rift between the Lichavis of different classes. They claim to rule by collective will, but who benefits from their actions? Just a small group of ruling class. A few weeks later, Ajatashatru is coming. The army has been sighted. Take up your arms and get ready for the battle. Let those who impose their will on others fight the enemy. While the enemy was advancing, the Chavis were bickering among themselves. So Ajatashatru's men met with little or no resistance as they marched towards Vaishali. Finally, at Vaishali, Chetak, the chief of the Lichavis, made a fervent appeal. Our strength lies in our unity. Quarrel among us and mutual mistrust could help Ajatashatru, our only enemy. Let us decide whether we want to fight one another or the enemy. Chetak's appeal had the desired effect. We will fight Ajatashatru. We are with you, Chetak. The Lichavis poured out of the fort in full strength and fought spiritedly. Vassakar, who had meanwhile rejoined his king, looked miserable. All my efforts seem to have failed, Maharaj. Have patience, Vassakar. This is not real unity, but only a weak patch-up. Ajatashatru sent for his engineer. Moreover, we have a very effective war machine to deal with them. Tomorrow we will use it against the Lichavis. The following day, pretend that we are beaten and we want to retreat. As the Magadhan army began to retreat, after them, after them! The Lichavis chased the Magadhans right up to their camp. Then a strange war machine emerged from the Magadhan camp. It has no horses, no charioteer, and is moving fast. Look at its arms! They did not realize that soldiers were sitting inside the war machine, turning a wheel. The strange war machine moved fast in circles, destroying men with its heavy rods. Run! Run for your life! The Lichavis lost their will to fight and meekly surrendered. The decisive victory against the Lichavis concluded the long-drawn campaign. Ajatashatru began to feel restless once again. He turned to his personal physician and friend Jivak for advice. I get into a fit of depression at the conclusion of every campaign. I feel all right as long as I have someone to fight with. Maharaj, don't you realize that all the time you have been fighting yourself? Ajatashatru recalled Prasenajit's words. Seek peace, not war. Seek life, not death. Is there no solution? I am sorry, Maharaj. There is no medicine for the malady that affects the mind. Only one person can help you, Gautam the Buddha. Gautam the Buddha. He is now visiting Magad and is camping in the mango grove on the outskirts of the city. Will he agree to see me? He shuns no one. He seeks no one. Go to the Buddha, Maharaj. You will find peace. Accompanied by Jivak, Ajatashatru set out to seek an audience with the Buddha. As they entered the mango grove, Ajatashatru was suspicious. I hear no voice. I see no one. I hope this is not a trap, Jivak. No, Maharaj, I assure you, because where there is the Buddha, there is peace. When they were close to the assembly, Ajatshatu and Jivak dismounted and began to walk. As Ajatshatu approached the Buddha, Bhagavan, I seek refuge in the Dhamma. At last, Ajatshatu found peace. The story is over. Please like, share, and subscribe.